Hello everyone, it's Godzilla1 and I'm back with another video, this time with a little something different. This will be my unscripted thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming and sort of review, I guess. It will be my thoughts and what my opinion of it is, and don't worry, this will be spoiler-free. There will be absolutely no spoilers in this except for what the trailers and sort of the synopsis has already said. So, with that in mind, let's get started. That said, I will say you should watch Civil War before you watch this movie, because this movie does have spoilers for Civil War. But that aside, let's get into the plot, which is basically, after Civil War, Spidey is really trying to impress Tony Stark. Like, he wants to impress Tony Stark really bad, so he ends up actually because Tony Stark kind of brought him into this world a little bit. And he wants to be more involved in this world. He wants to be more involved with the Avengers. He wants to be a bigger part of this than just the guy that's on the street saving an old lady's purse or something. Understandable for a 15-year-old boy, which is how old he is in this one, which some people have complained about. I think it works for the movie's benefit. But basically, as he's trying to do that, he ends up meeting this supervillain called the Vulture, which is played by Michael Keaton. And basically sees this as his big chance to actually get up to the next level. Sort of advance in his superhero exploits to the next level and actually be more important to the world than he is being right now. And that's the basic plot, without spoilers. And I will say this, a lot of people are saying this is the perfect Spider-Man movie. It's good, it's really good, but I would not say it's the perfect Spider-Man movie. In fact, I don't think we've had a perfect Spider-Man movie. I think if you take all three Spider-Man movies and sort of meld them together into one composite continuity, you would have the perfect Spider-Man movie, because they've all gotten one thing right. They've always gotten one or two things right. Like all these different things perfect, but they always get something off, and that's kind of the thing here. It's good, but it's not perfect. I think it's a very good Spider-Man movie. I think it's one of the best Spider-Man movies, but I still think calling it perfect isn't really doing the other films justice or this one justice. All of them get something right, all of them do really well, but they all have their failings, and this one is no different. There are things in this movie that I feel they really could have done better, and that the previous films did better, but likewise, there are things this film does much better than the previous two did. Some of which I can't go into without spoilers, so I won't go into them here. But, yeah, it's a good Spider-Man movie, but I would not say it's the best. Spider-Man 2 is still kind of hard to top, in my mind, because that one got Doc Ock so well, and the plot was actually really good in general. But it's kind of hard to really say which one's the best. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite, but the others all do something really well. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is you don't really have a perfect Spider-Man movie, because I don't think at present one exists. That said, Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Spider-Man did really well. Like, he's supposed to be the high school Peter. He's supposed to be the teenager Peter. And he does that so well. He is a great teenage Peter Parker, and probably the best one we've got, because all of them have kind of tackled that high school area, and I think he does that area the best. I think Tobey Maguire probably does the more adult Spider-Man the best, maybe. It's kind of a tie between him and Garfield. We haven't really gotten to see Holland get his chance to do adult Spider-Man yet, so we'll have to wait and see for that. And sorry if I take anyone off about my fan opinions, but everyone has their own opinions. I just like certain aspects of the other two Spider-Men better than I like things in this one, and I like things in this one better than them. I think Garfield probably got the cockiness of Spider-Man the best. Holland tried, but this is sort of meant to be sort of year one Spider-Man. Like his first real supervillain fight. His first real experience with this larger world, so it kind of makes sense. But he's not as cocky as I probably would have liked him to be, because that's sort of Spider-Man's thing, being this wisecracking, sort of cocky persona, which has multiple purposes. One, he sometimes actually is a bit cocky, but at the same time it's also meant to unbalance the enemy, so I can see Holland's Parker not yet getting that. But all said and done, he actually is a really good Peter Parker. I do think he does a great job as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man. And I love his suit. Like, his suit is just awesome. And as, you know, you saw in I think the previous one, I mean, in Civil War and in the trailers, it was something Tony Stark made him. And as you can imagine, Tony Stark making Spider-Man's suit has as much hilarity as you probably think it does. But that does bring me to another concern a lot of people had. Tony Stark in this movie. He actually did pretty well. Like, the trailers make it look like he's all throughout the movie. He's not. The trailers are lying. The amount of times Tony Stark is in this movie is exactly as much as Tony Stark should be in this movie. His role in this movie is pretty much exactly as big as you would want it to be for what his relationship is to Peter. So I think it works in that regard. So, and a lot of it is funny, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to this. A lot of people are kind of, I'm not really sure about this. I'm personally kind of happy about it because, one, it's kind of they have a really nice dichotomy to them. They have this really nice interaction between them, and I really like that. But at the same time, I'm kind of hoping that this somehow leads to Leo Pardon being in the Marvel Universe. I mean, think about it. You have Tony Stark making stuff for Peter Parker. That's like the one chance they'll ever have to actually have Leo Pardon from the old Japanese Spider-Man series somehow appear. Long shot, I know, but I want that so bad. I don't care if it makes sense, I want it. But anyway, that's basically everything you need to know about them. Then we have to go to the villain, the Vulture, who is, of course, played by Michael Keaton, which... He's played by Michael Keaton. He's played by the guy that played the Tim Burton Batman. That enough should tell you how good his performance is. He is probably one of the best Marvel supervillains we've gotten. Like, Marvel has dropped the ball on a few of its supervillains, but Vulture is not one of them. He is a character. He has motivations. He has these interesting quirks to him that make him work. Like, I won't spoil his motivation because it's brilliant, but he is just awesome in this role. And they really played to the fact that Michael Keaton, back when he was Batman, he had to play Bruce Wayne and Batman and kind of make the two distinct. They play with that and use that experience to this film's advantage because there are points where we see Vulture outside of the big suit of death. I call it the big suit of death because, well, look at it. Like, look at it in the trailers. That is freaking terrifying. But we see him outside of that suit on several occasions, and he's affable. This is a guy you would want to work with. This is a guy you kind of want to get along with. You could see, if you didn't know he was a supervillain, it's like, okay, I could go hang out at that guy's house, and it would be perfectly fine. And that's what this character, I won't spoil why, but it was needed for this character. If he did not have that side, this character would not work. And I really do like that about this movie, about Michael Keaton as the Vulture in this movie. And I love that suit. I love his suit. Like, you've seen it in the trailers, that suit is intimidating. Like, when he swoops in, it is scary. And the cool thing about it is, they actually worked in that fluff around the Vulture's neck from the comics as a bomber jacket. And that's a clever way to do it. And the Vulture is just this threatening villain. And I think that is one thing this one kind of got better than some of the previous two iterations, is that Green Goblin could be threatening, but he was very over the top. Doc Ock was sympathetic, but he was also a little bit over the top, and you know how the arms worked. Sandman was very sympathetic, but not really intimidating, and they did kind of mess up their chance to make Venom super intimidating. But then you had the Amazing Spider-Man villains, which, while nice and well fleshed out, it kind of didn't balance things as well as maybe they could have. Especially in the sequel, because they were introducing all these different villains all at once. Not to discount these, I love the villains in the original ones, but I think Vulture is probably one of the best Spider-Man villains we've gotten. I think he is a great villain, definitely one of the best Marvel supervillains we've gotten. But enough gushing about Vulture. What about the other characters? Well, we do get a love interest in this movie. Unfortunately, she's really not that much to write home about. She she exists. Like I hate to say it that way, but she exists. Like that's really the only thing I can say about her. I hate to say that, but she's definitely a weak point of the movie because we don't really get to see enough of her to get that connection to her that maybe we got with Gwen Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy. I still think the Amazing Spider-Man, well, it was supposed to be a trilogy, they ended up only making two. I think Gwen Stacy's still the best love interest for Peter we've gotten in one of these movies. She was just so well written. No offense to the acting in the original trilogy. Mary Jane, she was passable, but Gwen Stacy, I'm sorry, she was great in the Amazing Spider-Man series of movies. But it's a thing. She's there, but she does play a big role to a degree. But it's more about the characters around her than her. So there is that. And the Tinkerer is in this movie, but he's sort of just, Vulture's head honcho. There's also the Shocker, who, he gets some cool scenes, not really a big tier villain, unfortunately. Still cool, though. I'm still glad that he actually gets called the Shocker. They actually do call him the Shocker, so that's nice. Really nothing to write home about there. Like, Vulture and Spidey are Vulture, Spidey, and Tony Stark are like the big things to write home about in this movie. The others are passable, and that's kind of probably how it should be. Like, there's a spoiler for one of the characters that I'm kind of like, okay, I can see that working. But overall, just those three, and that's really how it should be. And also, Happy Hogan is in this one. Tony's right-hand man, and he does a good job. He also does a good job. Oh, there is one more character I kind of want to talk about, but I can't because her entire existence is a spoiler. Oh, but I will say this. Once Spider-Man does something with his suit, you meet her, and I love the character. You'll see what I mean if you actually watch the movie. This is also where I've kind of got to draw one of my biggest complaints about the movie, and that's in the recast, like the casting of characters to be different than their original. Let me think of how to work this in without spoilers. Some of these characters they changed up just don't work. Like Flash, Peter Parker's bully. I honestly would not know this was Flash until they said his name. Until they said his name, I was not looking at this character and saying, okay, that's Flash. He doesn't act like, okay, he's a bully to Peter, but that's the only similarity the two characters have. It kind of made me roll my eyes. I get that they wanted to make more diversity in this, but you could do that and still cast him as this big jock. Which, that's kind of, I know this is a silly thing to complain about, but they're foils. Flash is a foil to Peter. He looks physically intimidating. He's the popular kid. He's the big guy. Peter is the nerd. He doesn't look imposing. But that's kind of the point. Flash has everything and abuses it. Peter is an unsung hero. He doesn't let anyone know the heroism he does. The daily, I can't remember it. Jameson, is, in the comics is always badgering him, always trying to paint him as the bad guy, but he still does it anyway, because with great power comes great responsibility. So, that's kind of their foil, is one is not responsible with the popularity he has, the other has no popularity, no real recognition, but does the right thing every chance he gets. That's kind of their foil, and it's kind of lost here. The action scenes are really good, the score is good. In general, I really like this movie, but I would not call it the perfect Spider-Man movie because I do not feel a perfect Spider-Man movie exists. And overall, I would give it a 7 out of 10. No, that's not fair. I'd say more 8 out of 10. Like, it deserves an 8 out of 10 because it's really good, it gets a lot right, but I don't agree with a lot of people that say this is the best Spider-Man movie ever. do think it's a really good one and an improvement over the sequels of, like, the Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's definitely better than both of those. But, like I said, wouldn't call it the best Spider-Man movie. It's kind of hard to actually gauge which Spider-Man movie is the best, if any of them. But, in general, I enjoyed this movie. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you go see it or have seen it, tell me what your opinion is down in the comments below. But be respectful to others and to me, because I will be respectful to your opinions if you are. If not, I'll probably just downvote your comment, or, well, at worst, I might actually delete it. Anyway, don't feed trolls. Don't be a troll. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell to get notifications when I post a video. And see you guys next time. Bye! I still don't have a catchphrase.